Welcome to our podcast. God is speaking. Are we listening and obeying? Today we have a very special guest, David Blackwell. David and I met through a mutual friend, Jason Egley. David was one of my favorite people on the planet's pastor. And I'm thinking, wow, so I get to meet Jason Egley's pastor, David Blackwell. And David, it is just great to have you here today.
All righty, Joe. Good to be with you. Anytime I get to spend with Joe is a good day, good time of investment. So,
well, thank you.
Honored.
Pleasure. So what about that guy, Jason Egley?
Jason's a good man. Yeah, so I heard about you from Jason through the years and just referred to you as, business coach. And then I started noting the different circles where I would hear your name referenced. Pastors loved you, nonprofit leaders loved you, and then business leaders loved you. And that intrigued me. And I was like, wow, this guy just seems to have, you could call it favor, but just people appreciate him from all those spheres. So then Jason uniquely just commented through the years about the impact that you had on his family, and his business. And before actually he connected us, though, you and I ended up in a golf cart together at a golf outing. And we got paired up randomly.
That's right, yeah.
And interestingly enough, our first conversation was about doing podcasts together, which was 5 years ago.
Wow.
So providentially, here we are.
Yeah.
Doing a podcast.
Yeah, Jason Egley, I met him when he, and by the way, thank you for the kind comments. That's my hope, that I would impact people and encourage people.
Yeah.
And Jason was in his parents' basement running a little business.
Yeah, he was.
And then the next thing you know, he's got an office in Union Station.
We call that an upgrade.
Maybe the coolest building in Kansas City.
Great
Union
building,
Station.
Great wife, family, parents' basement. That was, let's be honest, Jace. We're all just relieved you're not still stuck in that basement.
Oh, what a great guy.
Yeah.
Just humble, teachable, smart, and loves the Lord. Yeah, special guy. So thank you very much.
Here.
Jason Egley. Thank
wherever
you.
you are. Thank you, Jason Egley. Lunch on me next time, pal.
Well, I like to start with where you are now, what you're doing now, and then take it back to the beginning and sort of tell us your story. So what's going on in your world these days?
Yep. Okay. So current landscape, married to Molly.
Molly.
All-star.
Since we're doing recognition.
All-star wife. She's the best.
Yeah.
So we're nearly 25 years of marriage. We'll celebrate 25 years this August. And then 3 kiddos. We have Sam, 21, Will, 18, and Nora, 14. And Sam's at Mizzou. Will just graduated. Nora is about to graduate 8th grade. So that's kind of high-level family where we're at. And then work-wise, I do what you do, Joe, in case you didn't know that. I'm an implementer with EOS worldwide, so I have the privilege of serving organizations, be it businesses or nonprofits, and just helping them address the most common kind of growth problems that they would face, and in implementing a system that helps them answer those questions, face those challenges, bring real clarity, simplicity, and improved execution. I love people. I love working with teams. It's basically what I've done my whole life, and honored to do so now through the vehicle of EOS. So that's kind of where I'm at now. Background roots are Chicagoland area, born and raised, and mom and dad are awesome. Mom and dad were like Jesus people, Christians. If you know these Jesus people types.
They're out of the...
my dad was saved through the Jesus movement and basically a hippie in the most wonderful, sanctified fashion, right? And so my spiritual upbringing, for that matter, my upbringing was in that home, which was very non-religious. I think one of the things that characterized the Jesus movement was it wasn't religious. That's part of what Chuck Smith did well. Hippies were coming in, walking barefoot through the church, and religious types were like, whoa. What's going on? These people are dirty. They haven't bathed. They got no shoes on. And that was my dad in the most wonderful way. So our church was very much like that. All shapes and sizes and all manner of smells, quite honestly. It was street level access, the church was, so people that came in and out were beat up and bedraggled. And that's what I knew about faith and spirituality was it's dirty. And we need to get our hands dirty. So Yeah. So
So your dad's like a peace and love hippie, and he really wasn't finding it over there, but he came over here
yeah,
to relationship, not
Yeah.
religion,
Yeah.
to relationship with Jesus. And here's
Yeah.
the ultimate lover and the ultimate peacemaker.
Yeah.
And he says, that's my guy.
yeah, yep. So mom and dad were awesome. Super grateful just for the
Siblings?
healthy. Yep. We got a younger sister, 7 years younger, two older half siblings, brother who's 10 years older, and then older half sister who's 13 years older. So we got a weird spectrum. So I'm like somewhere between the oldest, like firstborn, and then kind of the middle. So somewhere is where I live within the sibling world. Yeah, so I mean, no other. I mean, there's tons. Obviously, could comment about those early years, but I think the formative kind of big blocks were just like, Dad was remarkably generous. So I grew up in a home that was hospitable and remarkably generous. Like Scripture it says like, give to everyone who asks. Like my dad actually did it, like literally did it. And anytime somebody would come up to him and ask him for something, he gave it. And one of my earliest memories is my dad was a teacher and pastor, bivocational, and he was a coach of the high school girls softball team. And I'm 7 years old, 7 years old, and after the game, he takes the whole team to McDonald's, and I'm watching, and there's like 16, 17 girls, whatever. My dad, a few of us, and Dad pays for everybody. And I'm watching at 7 years old. I'm like, wait, he's buying everybody's food? And it logged into my brain that's what we do. Like that's what Blackwells do. We treat others and we're generous. And to this day, every time the bill comes, my first thought is, I got to pay the bill. Now, interestingly enough, I still struggle with you. I'm grateful. You pick up the tab a lot of times when we go out, my friend. But my first thought, Joe, is like, I got to pick up the tab because Dad always picked up the tab. And as a teacher, and he never took a salary from the church. So that has a massive imprint on my life.
So he taught you about loving and giving and serving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he did it by modeling.
Uh-huh.
That's the message. Like that was his avenue of discipleship. Was he just did it? Wasn't sitting me down and son, here's how we do it. I watched him. He lived it remarkably. Wasn't a great teacher instructor in terms of the verbal side of it, but lifestyle, my friend, extraordinary. Extraordinary examples. Start to finish, top to bottom.
So you grew up in Chicago.
Yep.
And
the heyday of the Chicago Bulls. In case you didn't know, we won 6 championships.
I just want
to make sure that you understand. Chicago Cub fan,
some of the
Bears
greatest,
fan.
That little TV that they did on the Bulls, third season or something. Or
on Netflix, it's called
that. And it is really, really good, kind of behind the scenes as they pursued.
Yeah.
Would they win 3 and then he took a break and then another 3?
He tried to play baseball.
Oh, yeah.
Failed experiment. Came back and, did pretty well, obviously. Yeah. So anyway, Chicago. And then I start taking my faith very seriously around 18, 19, 20. Some squirrely years through high school, just figuring stuff out. And then I went to the University of St. Francis to play golf and did a freshman year there. And during that semester, I remember I was living in the dorm, and I remember like experiencing kind of an atypical college life for the first month or so. Insert listener what an atypical college life looks like for you. And I come back after a night of going to parties and getting a delightful Chicago style hot dog, which was a treat at the end of the night. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, this is not it. This is not it. My words that hit my head, my heart were, I'm not as joyful as I can be. And I literally said, I know that I will experience more joy if I'm following Jesus. It was just like boom, 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 boom. The words just toppled out of my head and heart that quickly. And I had a friend that I grew up with, a childhood friend. She was doing Youth with a Mission. She sent me a letter from doing Youth with a Mission in Denver, wrote to me about her experience there. I read this letter within, say, 72 hours of this whole epiphany. Joy is waiting for me in Jesus. And she sends me this letter, and as soon as I read the letter, I was like, yep, I'm done going to college. I need to go to Youth with a Mission. I'm done with college, at least at this stage, is probably a better way to frame that. And I need to go do YWAM. And that happens within a month or so. End up kind of just like participating in a few youth groups around the area, just because, like who Jesus is was starting to be owned personally. Again, healthy childhood experience, 3-4 years of just wandering and wobbly and whatever, and then just like clarity on, again, joy. Joy was the thing that caught my fascination and like pulled me out of. I wasn't depressed. Like, I really wasn't depressed. I just knew I wasn't as joyful of a human as I could be.
Did your dad model that when he was giving and serving?
Ish. I would say he did. Yeah, maybe. I don't know that I would say yes to that. I mean, it was evidence, like joy was evidence in his life and my mom's life, but that would not have been like the main characteristic I would describe from childhood. So I don't know what it was about joy that lit me up.
So how were you defining joy at
That's
that
a good
time?
question. I honestly don't know. Other than it was like awareness in the spirit, which I wasn't really yielded to the spirit, but I had awareness in the spirit. Lo and behold, God can get to you even when you're not looking for him. Imagine that, right? And I just had awareness. I'm made to be a joyful person, and I know I'm going to experience that utmost in and with and for Jesus. Like, I don't know how else to describe it. I just knew it.
Yeah.
And trusted it.
Yeah. So fruit of the Spirit.
Okay, fruit of the Spirit.
Love, joy, peace, right?
Yep.
And so
Don't forget about self-control.
Yeah, it's the
caboose. Listen, you lacked a little bit of self-control when you spilled your bottle of water earlier. Just need to call that out.
And when I forgot the name of the Chicago TV show, a little lack there as well.
The Last Dance.
The Last Dance.
We got
Thank you.
Yep.
So you wander around, you're living life like most people do, sort of a mediocre life. Then all of a sudden you see the possibility of joy with Jesus.
Yeah.
And you're like 24, 25?
No, I'm 1920.
Yeah.
Catch it, and then leave university and go to do Youth with a Mission, YWAM in Denver in Argentina. Awesome. Just radical upheaval of like all things. And then while I'm there, I start thinking, man, my dad was awesome. I think I'd be a good church leader. I should go be a pastor guy. And like, that was like at 21, that was like, oh, that's it. There's like some sort of like calling to the ministry. Those were terms that we tossed around those days and probably still do. I think I'm called to do this vocationally. So I finished YWAM and I start hunting Bible schools. Chicagoland has a ton of historic Bible schools, right? Moody, Wheaton, Trinity. There's great schools. I looked at them. I just knew they weren't right for me. And respect to those schools, but at that time, I have no idea where they are now. The life of the Spirit was absent. It was great theological study, but I knew that I needed the Holy Spirit. And that was a part of my childhood in a meaningful way, for sure. So I was like, I need the Word, and I need the Spirit. And with respect to those schools, I didn't see the Spirit. I don't know how else to say it. And I knew I needed both. And so that summer, I hear about a school here in Kansas City called Grace Training Center, and the tagline is literally the School of the Word and the Spirit. I learn about it July 3rd or 4th. I'm 20 years old, and I knew within 5 minutes, yep, that's where I'm going. And that a month and a half later, I moved.
So there's a verse, true worshipers worship him in spirit and in truth.
Yeah.
And you found it.
Yeah.
The Word and the Spirit.
Word and the Spirit, yeah.
At Grace, Midtown, Kansas City?
Grace Training Center. It was in South Kansas City.
Yeah.
Yep. And before I moved, I proposed to my then girlfriend, Molly. We got engaged. And, a few weeks later, I loaded up my Dodge Daytona, drove in the 100-degree heat, had no air conditioning in the car, and I remember my left arm just got scorched, stuck out the window, the 8-hour drive, and landed at a little school, man. I mean, maybe 100 students in the school, but it was just absolutely where I needed to be. Yep. Yeah.
So
okay, can I keep going with that a little?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so school, landed the school, and just a rich environment, rich educators that were, scholars that taught through biblical curriculum. And then also, again, just cultivated the awareness of like life in the Spirit, hearing God's voice, how you move and minister with Him, life of prayer, discipleship, some topics that maybe aren't core curriculum in traditional biblical schools. I don't know. I didn't go to one. So I was just like soaking it all up. Met my best friend, Adam, who's still my best friend to this day. Mm-hmm. We arrived at the same time. And remarkable just impact. So that first year, went through the Bible school, go back to Chicago, get married. Molly and I stay in Chicago a year. I intern at my dad's church. Had the awesome privilege of just learning how to preach and teach. I was 21 years old, and my dad was he was just super generous. Like, you want to preach? Go for it. And I could have preached every Sunday. He would let me preach every Sunday. So I was really fortunate to get a lot of experience. So grateful for that. So spend a year there and in Chicago at Dad's church, and then move back to Kansas City, finish school, and add some new friends. We knew Adam, and then another couple from Alaska, Nathan and Marissa, the Chuds, and the five of us became just thick as thieves, spending all sorts of time together, praying together, dreaming about how can we impact the world together, and ultimately moved into a big house together, like a duplex, and began to just dream further, having lots of meals together. We weren't doing like Book of Acts, shared common purse kind of thing, but we lived life together. And again, the undercurrent was like, how do we just impact people with the good news, and what could our lives look like being together? And ultimately dreamed about a church plant, and a few years later we did it.
Tell us about that church.
Yep. So we were eyeing a part of Kansas City where a lot of youth and young adults hung out, and we had good mentors around us that were like, yeah, you all could do this actually. And they encouraged us enough to finally ultimately move into this part of Kansas City called Westport, get a little weird building there, and gathering artists and train hoppers and a bunch of other young adults that just wanted to see what would it look like just to host like a space, i.e. a church, that was healthy, that was fun, actually, that was creative, and that was just unequivocally centered around who Jesus is and how do people discover who He is, and then how do they discover who they are in light of who He is. And so that church was called Kansas City Boiler Room, and church still exists today, and just the incredible privilege of my life to being a part of that team and helping to lead that church. That's where I met Jason Egley. And
So it's called the Boiler Room.
Yeah, called the Boiler Room. I mean, the short story on that is it was a part of a network of other communities, faith communities, connected to an organization called 24/7 Prayer out of the UK.
Yeah.
Pete Gregg was the founder and leader of that. He became a key influence and mentor in our life. And so we were one of several boiler rooms around the world. But again, just think it's a church.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
It was, I think, in an old stone building down in West. We visited.
Oh, yeah. An old arts building.
A big lower level, had a beautiful main floor.
Yeah. It was great.
Yeah,
it was great.
And so you get married, you accept Jesus, you get married, and then you're off to YWAM, and now you're back here to Kansas City, and you have a church called the Boiler Room, and you're part of the 24/7 prayer movement.
Yep. So I was helping to lead the church, and then I was also giving leadership to 24/7 Prayer USA. So anchored the national office for 24/7 Prayer USA. Again, learning and growing in my own leadership, now leading a national nonprofit organization and building a team and working budgets and trying to raise money and all the things that were there. Had a great team, had a great co-leader within a couple of years there. And ultimately just set our focus on engaging college students as a part of that and helping college students healthily discover the place of prayer in a variety of forms, not limiting prayer to just talking to God, but how you creatively engage God and learn to hear his voice. And so we helped set up little prayer spaces on universities around the country. Had a blast doing that, Joe. It was an absolute blast doing that for years.
Can you think of times during that journey when God specifically led you? You've talked about, listening to the Holy Spirit, hearing God's voice. Can you think of some specifics where God was guiding you?
Yeah, well, even the move into a kind of exclusive focus or priority on college students, because prior to that, we were just ecumenical and helping churches of all shapes and sizes, all denominations, just pray, helping them learn how to pray in different ways and giving tools and resources to help that church grow in the place of prayer. And what happened is I had a dream one night, and a very clear dream from God that centered around a college campus. And when I woke up out of the dream, I was journaling frantically, and my ministry partner, if you can follow this kind of chronology, while I was journaling the dream, this guy was taking a shower, and while he's in the shower, he hears God speak to him, and God says to him, "Call Campus America to pray. Call Campus America to pray." And one step further, God speaks to him and says, "Dave has just had a dream about this." So the guy comes out of the shower, he's like, "Did you have a dream about colleges and universities?" And I'm holding the pen in the journal. I dropped the pen and I'm like white as a ghost. It's like, how could you possibly know that I just had a dream? He's like, "God just spoke to me almost audibly," he says. I don't think it was audible. It might have been audible. And that call Campus America to pray. So we then begin to collaborate and are aware, well, something sovereign has just happened. That was a unique for both of us, that kind of type of clarity. Sometimes God and how he speaks is a little mysterious. This one was just clear as day.
It's kind of like Mary getting a visitation from an angel.
Yeah.
And she's like, if you watch movies of that, it's like, okay, she's like, and this is God's angel. And you were kind of blown away by his power and his love for you, his desires for you, his desire to have a relationship with you like that.
Yeah. Amazing.
What was that like?
Yeah, I mean, it was super humbling. Like the first thing was just like, wow, what on earth are you doing? And what do you have in store if you've spoken with this type of clarity? And, then the journey begins. How do you steward it? And how do you respond to it? And that is then the real-time relationship with God of journeying. Like, okay, well, you spoke, but you didn't lay out A plus B equals C, right? Kind of gave a big call. And then now we get to relate with him and each other of how do we outwork this? How do we obey what he has in his heart for us? And we spent several years waiting and listening and trying to make sense of what that meant. And that's just fun, right?
So
getting to co-labor with him.
You're still doing your day-to-day ministry, and you're still doing serving.
Yeah, and then figuring out that.
Yeah, but at the same time, that's kind of there, and what are we going to do with that?
Yeah, like that's the juggernaut of all words from God. Like, what does that mean? And what are we going to do? So we just tried to hold it. Like, we'll go back to Mary, right? Mary pondered these things in her heart. There was like deep, holy pondering. Wow. Okay, you want to do something through us to impact colleges and universities. What is it? What is it? And we didn't rush to conclusions there. We tried to be patient and wait. And then ultimately came up with some strategies and plans. And we were like, God, we think these are good strategies and plans. Hopefully you think these are good strategies and plans, right? And then we felt like there was enough on it to then begin to do some of those things. And so that characterized like some of my middle years, of my life, of doing that stuff and leading and learning and growing and being always connected to a good team of people that are trying to follow God, obey him, and make a huge impact. So I'll just keep us moving forward in the chapters, do that for several years, have, again, a great run focusing on colleges, universities, transition.
How old are you at this time?
I'm probably late 20s, early 30s.
Okay.
Yep. And then shift again and out of the just kind of the focus on colleges and universities, and then open up more to just serving churches at large. And then ultimately, Joe, I got kind of convicted around, I just want to live this story locally. Like, I care deeply about Kansas City, and I started to lose interest in traveling and speaking and doing other things with other churches. And all the while I was helping to lead the local Kansas City Boiler Room as well. You know, I wasn't the main leader. Adam and others were helping to give leadership there, but I was like, I want to live this story locally. So I resigned some of the other things just to be dedicated on Kansas City. And that was a hard thing to like let go of that leadership, because it was a big role. It was a national director of a ministry. And I had probably some like ego around that. And I remember having to like sit with the loss of letting go of that.
But you knew somehow.
I knew it was right.
Yeah.
I knew it was right. I knew it was God. That was undeniable. But I was also, I could feel in my humanity, oh, I'm going to go from being kind of a national nonprofit leader to now I'm just a pastor in a local church. And I allowed myself to feel it for about 30 seconds. You know, I was like, yeah, that's a bummer, but whatever. It's God. I don't really care, you know? But I think that's an important thing, just to recognize, yeah, like obeying has a cost. And sometimes that cost is just even impact to our own ego.
Usually people mourn for more than 30 seconds, but it says
might have been
a lot
3
about
minutes.
your personality. You're just going to get on with things and keep moving forward.
Yeah, I move quickly through things, either for good or bad, Joe. And so, then several years just helping to lead the church locally, always kind of all the while had my hand in some other things of just, you know, loving and serving elsewhere and helping others and mentoring and coaching, discipling young men. And that kind of takes us up to now the more recent chapter.
So back up a little bit. What was Molly and the kids doing all that time?
Yep. So Molly's a dental hygienist and usually working 2 to 3 days a week. And then we're, you know, raising our kids through that time, which economically was just an adventure. Because, you know, I was like somewhere between raising support and getting a salary from the church, but it was an inner city church. So we weren't giving good salaries or big salaries. So was like raising money on the side, doing other things, and Molly and we just kind of pieced together an income that worked. And raising our kids that way was, you know, a joy. We had lived at kind of the east side of Kansas City, eclectic, diverse neighborhood. That would be like on a lower income side of things, and that was an adventure in of itself, right? Mm-hmm. And learned so much through that and still do. And then, ultimately, right, as we just try to love really well, love our kids really well, maintain a healthy marriage, keep our hands open to God and his leading, and who are we to love, how are we going to do that? And that, again, the local church was the main field of our investment, and wonderfully so. And that church just celebrated 20 years. It's still running, and so grateful for the years they're getting to invest in that.
What's that church called now?
Nava, Navah Nava Church is still in Kansas City. Molly and I still lead a small group or a home church there. But up until the point, Joe, that God connected us and then divinely changed gears for me.
So I want to go back and linger here
Keep
for
going.
a while.
Yep. You know, I'm always moving forward.
Yes.
People have to pull me a bit like, hey, can we go back? Yeah.
So I think it's fascinating when we look back at those tough times when you were like trying to, okay, let's try to scrape together a little budget that can work for us. When you look back at that, when I know when I do in my life, those were like the good old days.
Oh, so fun.
It's like
so fun.
It's not complicated. It's you know, you're in a mode of you're just trying to make ends meet and fulfill your obligations to each other and to the kids and to the church and the community. And
undeniably, some of my favorite memories and ways that God grew us as people of faith, and the financial adventure of like, well, I don't know how we're going to cover this. How are we going to pay for this bill? And you pray, and sometimes he says, hey, you may want to invite that person. Sometimes you do that, and sometimes you just wait and trust. And I remember us feeling prompted. There was a couple that was being sent to India, and Molly and I felt prompted to give $242. And
a small fortune
at that time. And So we were like, with joy, wrote the check for $242. And then 3 days later, got a check for $250 in the mail from total random source. And those are just faith building moments where you're like, sure, you chalk it up to coincidence, but it's just more fun to be like, that was God. That was the Father who just knows.
242 with a little usury.
We got a little bit of bump on that, a little bit of interest on that. And so many those kinds of stories that you're just like, yep, God's with us. He sees us. He's got us.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so how old are you at this time when you and I sat down and ate some Mexican food at an Italian restaurant? How long has that been since you made that big change happen?
Yeah, okay, so it's 2026 now. So this would be 2022.
Yeah.
4 years ago.
Okay, so at that time,
Maybe 5.
at that time, you're pastoring the church here.
Yep.
You're deeply involved with NABA.
Yep.
You have a home group. I want to hear more about home groups as we press on here.
Sure.
So then what happens?
Yep. So yeah, was happy doing that stuff, was against helping some other nonprofits with their work as well, and helping to give leadership to the church. And then out of nowhere, Joe, I had 2 dreams. So you can tell the one dream that gave way to that college ministry endeavor.
Yeah. God speaks to you through dreams sometimes.
Four in my life.
Okay.
That were monumental.
Okay.
That was one that we haven't referenced. And then what we're getting up to real time here in our kind of update and story, I had 2 dreams a month apart, and I won't go into the details of the dreams, but all that to say that those 2 dreams shook me to the core, and I knew unequivocally that God was speaking, and he was saying undeniably, your time as a pastor formally is over. It's over. And something totally new is coming. And after the first dream, within 30 seconds, I know what the dream means. Just searing clarity. And I'm like, whoa, okay. And then the next dream, about 2 weeks, 2 weeks or 3, whatever. I have the second dream, and I know it's connected to the first dream, and I know again, with searing clarity, this is what it is, and it's now. And there had time urgency on it. And so I would describe it as fear of the Lord. Like, there is obedience that's being demanded of me, and I wouldn't use that term lightly, right? And so I met with the leaders of the church and the elders and said, I might have to quit today. Like, that's how shook I was to the core, that it was like time, a major shift was happening, and I've got to obey. So I said to the team, I might have to quit today. And they're like, well, that's a little dramatic. And I was like, I don't know what to tell you. I've got that's how clear it was to me. But the good part about having healthy leaders and healthy elders is they discerned with me and weighed in and be like, hey, what if you went part-time as a step of faith? God's clearly leading something different. And they affirmed it. They're like, yep, we know God is speaking. We want you to obey. Can we just figure out maybe a way that's conducive for the church and your family to not just go abruptly off the payroll and off the church leadership? And they were wise to recognize the impact on the church would have been negative there. So I was like, yep, I think you're right. That makes sense. So went part-time in faith. I had no idea what I was going to do next. And that day, you and I had lunch together. The day I stepped out in faith and went to halftime role, you and I had randomly set a date for lunch. You take me to the Italian restaurant. You force me to eat fish tacos. It still makes no sense to me. But during that lunch, you surprised me with an invitation and said, I think we could serve people together. I think there's some stuff we could do together that could really help people. And I said, Joe, you barely know me. You're like, yeah. But people I really know and trust speak well of you. And God's doing something. I think we should go figure some stuff out together. And I don't know if you remember, my words to you were like, well, Joe, I'm a praying guy. We'll pray, but I don't have to pray on this one. Like, the timing of this is unbelievable. Yes, let's figure it out. And that was, forever just one of the more humbling moments of my life, my friend, because of how much I respected you. But the humbling part was God's kindness. I was prepared to wait a year. Like, I thought, okay, I've stepped out in faith, and it could really be terrible for the next 6 to 12 months. And I made peace with that. But for it to happen the day one, for God's kindness to come through you, and open up the next avenue. I mean, I drove home just so grateful, just so grateful that he had spoken, that I had the grace to obey, and that he moved quickly through you and fish tacos.
Until this moment, I had no idea how significant that was for you.
Yeah.
I mean, just telling that story.
Yeah.
On my end, it was totally a spirit-led encouragement for you. That's what I remember. That I was giving you courage. God was using me to give you courage.
Yeah.
That, okay, I can do this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to me, I find it interesting that you bring the pastor's mindset to this work of working with business leadership teams, nonprofit leadership teams, church leadership teams.
Sure.
So what was that transition like? Because I know it wasn't all a bed of roses.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Goodness. Yeah. So from that point of our first lunch, we spent a couple of weeks and months trying to figure that out. You ultimately say, hey, I think you should do EOS. And you give me the book Traction. I read it. I fall in love with it. And then went through the interview process and ultimately got invited by EOS to become an implementer. God provided the franchise fees miraculously for that to happen.
Through some friends.
Yeah. I mean, the next kind of, profoundly humbling moment. But yeah, as you noted, Joe, like the work is primarily in service to businesses. Now, EOS is, again, an entrepreneurial organization or a system for entrepreneurs and entrepreneurial businesses, predominantly, not exclusively. And so when I was reading the book, I was thinking to myself, but I'm a pastor. How am I going to do this? And am I going to be any good at it? And furthermore, why would a business hire me? That was part of the question in my head. But I knew it was God, and so I just had to respond and trust. But that was the first year of me being an implementer was profoundly difficult and essential for my development. I would describe it as like crippling insecurity at times.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, this is so hard. And I think as you kind of identified, like, I was like, man, all I've really done is church and nonprofit work for 20 years. And now I'm working with business teams. Am I going to be good at this? Are they going to get real value from it? And that was a journey of like digging deep on my own identity and security in God. Obviously applying myself to a lot of learning. I spent a lot of time with you, letting you coach and mentor me and smack me around in a good, loving way. I remember those lunches where you just, hey, you've got this, David. Stop being insecure. You got this. You can do this. And that was an important conversation. I needed you to be strong with me at the time, and read tons of books, and then just started to get great results serving teams, which of course fed my confidence. I was like, wow, they love me. They love this. They're referring people, and that, just had a knock-on effect of growth. But the first year, man, it's going to be forever sacred for me of how I had to like really, really dig deep and really lean into God and feel all of those insecurities and uncertainties.
It's almost like you were developing some muscles that maybe you'd never had before, or maybe they had atrophied.
Yeah, I think that's accurate.
Yeah, and you were working out rigorously and faithfully.
Yeah.
And then a big part of that, of course, was financial.
Sure.
And how did you do compared to leaving as a pastor in that inner city church to working for EOS? And what happened over those years then that followed? Yeah,
I mean, that was obviously when you and I started to talk about EOS and I started to look at it, I was like, wow, this could be remarkably lucrative. And, I said yes at the outset because I knew it was God. And then it was sure wonderful to realize, oh, if I do well with this can provide considerably more for my family. And the first year was probably similar, maybe 10,000 more than as a pastor. And then, I mean, since then, it's just, doubled, nay, tripled since then, which is remarkable.
Yeah.
And I within that has always been like the of a humble gratitude for the unique way that it has resourced our family. Obviously, a son in college and everything else. You're like, man, in case you didn't know, Joe, life's getting more expensive out there. So that's amazing.
So how did your faith, which you are a great man of faith, I was looking online this morning, it says, David Blackwell described as energetic, relational. And that's a great combination.
I'll take that, thank you.
That energetic joy of yours, that exuberance, that passion of yours, and the real genuine love that you have for people and the way you want to serve people.
Sure.
How did that foundation of working, as a pastor, we'll call you a shepherd with a flock of sheep.
There you go.
And then you move you put on that same mindset.
Yeah.
And you come over and start working in the business arena. And kudos to EOS for putting together a system that it works.
It works.
You don't have to go develop your own system. You're
Exactly.
It's almost like you're reading out of the good book or out of the hymnal or whatever it is. Turn to page 167, How Great Thou Art, and sing along. It's kind of like that. I mean, it doesn't require a lot of business experience to facilitate it.
Sure.
But you bring all kinds of other skills.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
And tell us about that.
Yeah. My the kind of epicenter of my work has been people, and how do I just really love and serve the person in front of me. And growing as a true pastor, not as a title, but like I like to remind people, pastoring is a verb. It's an action. And so that was 10 years of learning how to listen well, how to be with people in pain, how to recognize I can't fix certain problems. It's not my job to fix their problems, but to listen, to pray, to offer advice, blah, blah, blah. And so I'll just call it 10 years. It was more, right? Of learning how to lovingly listen, be patient, be alongside people, and how that has dovetailed in the work of now serving business owners and nonprofit owners, being patient, asking good questions, but deeply caring about the well-being of their souls. And I think, you know this, but the reason I do EOS is I believe it can help owners slow down, help them run better businesses. And if they run a better business, they have healthier employees and healthier staff, and all the families that are connected to that benefit. So I like to say I help leaders get unhurried and unworried so they can be more present to their most important relationships. And implementing EOS can significantly reduce the complexity and chaos in an organization. And if leaders and owners are anything like me, you carry that stuff home. So you carry chaos home, and your kids feel it. And I don't want that. So that's the same pastoral energy. Like, how do I help the person in front of me, strengthen, improve, connect with God so they are a better boss, a better husband, a better father, a better mother, better sister, right? The people around them get to experience the best parts of who they are as, they're met by God and met by wisdom. And I think EOS is a wisdom system, right? And so it doesn't feel any different, Joe. Like, I would say that very clearly. What I do now with EOS feels exactly the same. Yeah. Which is some people are like, really? I'm like, no, for me it does. I show up the same way.
Yeah.
Every session I prep like I was prepping for a sermon. I pray. I try to get clarity. God, are you with me?
Think about the people.
I just approach the work the exact same way as anything I ever did. And it's just nice that I get paid more.
Yeah. So, great chapter. Honored to be a part of it. What a blessing to, that wasn't me. That was God's guiding me and God guiding you. And again, you have one of those kind of divine connections. And out of that, beautiful things obviously have happened for you and the people you serve and your family. So I'm going to shift gears.
Sure.
I was reading about you online today, and it was talking about David speaks often on discipleship, small groups, fruit of the Holy Spirit, and I thought those are three really good topics, and I'd love your take on discipleship, not just at work, but at church and in our community. What does discipleship mean to you, and what are some of the key elements of discipling people?
Yeah. So when I think about discipleship, I distill it down to helping somebody else follow Jesus. That is very simple, one statement. If they've received Jesus, how do people then continue to follow him, grow, learn, and give their whole life as an apprentice of Jesus? And so
he's the most respected man on the planet.
Yeah.
Everybody says Jesus is. People don't run away from Jesus. They run away from organized churches, I
Sure.
think, and what
Yeah.
you described earlier.
Yeah.
I've had that
Yeah.
in my own.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes they run away from Jesus only if they have hurt or disappointment. Like you said, usually it's human leaders, but sometimes it is with God because they have had a prayer that they've prayed for 20 years that hasn't been answered. So I actually do think some people run away from Jesus in that their core disappointment is an unanswered prayer. That being said, I agree that who Jesus is, and if people see who he is truly, then they don't run away, right? But it's still, life is hard, it's messy, it's painful. I mean, I was a chaplain for a year. Unbelievable to be with people dying and going through, terminal illness and everything else. So people wrestle with faith. And that's why I believe it's essential to have people who disciple you, to have others who help you on your journey. And so do that with a few, intentional investment into a few to help them in their individual journey. And then, as you noted, Molly and I lead a small group and have for years. Our church has forever predominantly been based in small groups because we find it's hard to fully grow and become a mature follower of Jesus just sitting in a seat on a Sunday morning and listening to good sermons. I like good sermons, but you need others, and you need proximity to others, that people challenge you, how you wrestle with the scriptures together, how you carry disappointments, and how you celebrate high points. You need people that you see and you know their names and they know your names and your kids' birthdays. So I like the smaller fellowships for that. And
people grow in the context of relationships with other people.
I think so. Yeah.
And that's what you're describing.
Yeah, I think so.
So I wanted
They grow best. They grow other ways, but I think that is a unique environment that's conducive for spiritual growth.
I see. Yeah. So Romans 8:28, I think, has something to say about all things.
Yeah. Work together.
For good.
Yeah.
To those that love the Lord and the called according to his purpose.
Yeah.
It's sometimes people you were describing walking away from Jesus because there hasn't been enough time or enough understanding for them to get that this really is working out for some good.
Yeah.
That I couldn't understand early on, and maybe I'll never understand.
Sure. Yeah. I agree with that. Oh, or the way they were first introduced to him was with a religious context and filter. And so that could distort the image of who he is. So when they pray, they have an image of who he is. Maybe they think he's doling out blessings to some and not to others, or that prayer is like a slot machine. Well, if I get it just right, Joe, then the answer comes. And if I do good enough, then maybe he'll do good to me. But I think you hit the nail on the head. The scripture is he's good to all. And there is a blessing that follows those that love him. But make no mistake, I mean, it says the rain falls on the just and the unjust. So God is like a generous, good father. He's like blessing everybody. And whether they're reciprocating it and saying thank you or not, he just continues to be good. It's like, it's who he is.
Tough questions. I think that, God is speaking. Are we listening and obeying? I think some people have a hard time trusting him that what he's speaking is really going to be good for me.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I can trust this God.
Yeah, I agree with
You're
that.
getting at that.
Yeah, for sure.
Any other thoughts about discipleship or small groups?
Oh, man. I mean, I would just say what's tricky is that you kind of need to be invited to one, right? It's not like you just go somewhere. I mean, there's some groups that exist like that. Alpha is a great organization and outlet to be a part of a discovery environment, learning and growing in who God is and what he's like.
Like come together for dinner for 10 weeks
and then you
something.
ask questions. So that's a formal outlet that people could join if they were curious. But man, if there's small groups in your church, you've never done it, I would just say do it. But you need to give it a full year. Don't pop around. It takes time
to build relationships.
To build meaningful relationships. And then I would just appeal to the older quote, older followers of Jesus is find somebody younger than yourself, tap them on the shoulder and say, hey, can I take you out to lunch? I'd love to spend time with you. People who are younger than you want time with you. They want to learn, but they're not going to come and ask you.
Yeah.
You need to initiate. Be intentional. Go and ask somebody. You have something to give them, and then ask questions. And that's what Jesus was a master at, right? Asking questions and pulling people in curiosity. And I had great disciplers that's what they did. Took me on walks, took me with them on trips, ministry trips, stuff like that. And then just regular, just times together. How's it going? What's happening? What's God doing in your life? So I love that stuff.
Got just a handful of other questions here. So we started off talking about your loving dad. What's your dad up to now?
He passed away, Joe, 10 years ago.
He's got
with
the joy.
Jesus. He's dancing on the streets. Yeah.
And so we mentioned the love and joy and peace and patience and kindness and goodness and gentleness and faithfulness and self-control.
Which you lack because of the water bottle. Sorry.
So tell us about that, the fruit of the Spirit. When you speak on that and teach on that, what's the core message you're trying to get across?
Well, I think it starts with they are fruits of the Spirit. So they're not fruits of Joe Calhoun. Mm-hmm. They're fruits of the Spirit. So it starts with, as I'm yielded to the Spirit is helping to produce these fruits in our life.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a kid. You don't see a kid for like a month or two or three, and then all of a sudden you see him and go, wow, you've grown.
Look at you.
And if you're hanging with the Spirit and being led by the Spirit, you're going to be growing even if you don't see it, others will.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I had a group of men around. I do once a month with about 10 guys. And one of the questions was around how is the Spirit producing patience? We just talked about patience and how is the Spirit helping to cultivate patience in your life? So I think the fruits of the Spirit are just it's a great list to self-examine with like healthy humility. Am I this person? Are these fruits manifesting in my life? And if not, why not? And then let that curiosity lead you to ask others questions and study and read books, So it was a phenomenal conversation of transparency and vulnerability, of men reflecting back. Yeah, I'm lacking it, and here's how God is using it, and realizing, oh yeah, God's using my kids because they don't always listen and obey to produce patience in my life, of trusting the process and being patient with them and also patient with myself. So I think the fruits of the Spirit are, again, just an endless path of exploration, to ask questions, to learn, and to self-reflect.
I think those are found in Galatians chapter 5, verse 22 and 23.
Nice. I think that's right.
That's the address on those.
Good.
And Jesus was all of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is all of those, I should say.
Yeah.
So is there anything else I should ask you that I didn't, that you'd like to share with the listeners?
I don't think so. The golf game is not where I want it to be. So if you maybe should have asked me about that. It's not where I want it to be yet, but it'll get there. It's early in the spring.
What advice would you give people that have been listening to us over the last hour?
Man. There's 83 things. I think what's top of mind is slow down. Slow down. We move too quick. We're inundated with noise and distraction. Slow down to connect with God, really. And it will require almost, a guy wrote a book, Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. Mm-hmm. So I believe it's a force of your will to slow down, to stop, to rest, to contemplate. And when you slow down, you, like some of the ancients would say, you slow down to catch up with God. Slow down to catch up with God.
I get it.
And we in the West, in America, fast is better. Faster, better, more.
Yeah.
I would say resist that, slow down. And you will feel uncomfortable. It is hard to slow down. But man, the wisdom that's waiting on the other side of slower is better. And I move quickly, so I'm cultivating this.
Yes.
It's like one of my main thoughts is, literally, Joe, before every EOS session, I write at the top of my notes, slow down.
Yeah.
Slow down.
Yeah.
because I just move and talk fast, and the Chicagoan in me is still just there, bursting to move quickly. So slow down.
Maybe it's the Michael Jordan fast break. I'm not sure. It's like you're running hard.
6
man.
championships, Joe. No big deal.
Yeah, I know.
No big deal.
It was a lot of fun watching that team.
Honestly.
A lot of fun.
So good.
How could listeners learn more about you and your work? Where would they find you?
Oh, man. Nowhere. I'm not on any social
come
media.
on.
I don't have anything. LinkedIn.
Well, you go to EOS Worldwide,
Yeah, okay. Yeah, you're right. I guess you could search that. But
eosworldwide.com, and you go there and you look up David Blackwell.
sure,
and
there's a little something there.
there's a little something there. People
Yeah.
want to reach out to you, and there will be
That's
some
fine.
of that.
Thank
Yep.
you. You could do that, but otherwise, LinkedIn's it. I don't do any other social media stuff.
Okay,
Yeah.
David Blackwell, yeah.
Yep.
And then would you wrap this up by praying for our listeners
Oh,
today?
sure. Yeah.
We'd love that.
Yep. Well, I am thankful, Jesus, to you. I personally thank you for Joe, as just the honor of reflecting on the story in ways that you have met us together, in ways that you've used Joe in my life. Thank you for speaking to me through him. I do pray, Father, for all who are listening right now. I want to ask you to help them to slow down, to catch up with you. Thank you for your faithfulness. Thank you for your desire to speak to each one. Thank you for your commitment that you are faithful. You will not stop pursuing. You will not stop speaking. So I bless each one of you who are listening today to know the good news of Jesus and his beloved care for your life. Amen.
Amen. Thanks, David.
Thanks, Joe.
And thank you. God bless you.